My passage included a reference to a cusp. So one of my 5 learning outcomes was that my students will be able to identify the cusp of a tooth. My first backwards design step was to state that learning outcome. Students will be able to identify the cusps of a tooth. My step 2 was the evidence that I wanted my students to provide. Students will demonstrate sufficient mastery by correctly labeling and counting the cusps on various teeth. I figure if they can label the cusps accurately and they can tell me how many cusps are on a particular tooth, then they must know what a cusp is. So my sample assessment question 1 is how many cusps are visible in this diagram. So I expect them to count. I have no idea how many cusps there are, but I'm going to guess that that's one, and 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 these are 4 more. So I counted, let's see, 9 altogether, so I would say D. I'm relying on you dental hygiene folks to tell me how terribly wrong that is and how many there really are. I cited my photo here. That's where, not a photo, this image, that's where I got this image. Sample question 2 is draw an arrow touching the edge of each cusp on this tooth. My students should draw a new arrow for each cusp. This one I'm slightly more confident about. I expect them to draw 4 arrows, one to the front right cusp, one to the back right cusp, one to this front left cusp, and one to the back left cusp. I know those are very highly technical terms there, right, left, back, and front. And again, this is my resource for the image. So how am I going to get them there? This is what I want them to be able to do. This is how I'm going to assess them. To get them there, I'm going to give them this picture, which shows where the cusps are on a tooth. I'm going to give them a definition of a cusp, which is a pointed or rounded projection on the chewing surface of a tooth. You can see I've cited both of those resources. And so to reach mastery, I'm going to ask my students to read and memorize this definition, study this image of the cusps, and then I'm also in clinic going to have them practice identifying cusps on a typodont.